A very good morning to you all on this wonderful Bloomsday 2023.
Solemnly he came forward and mounted the gun rest. He faced about and blessed gravely thrice the tower, the surrounding country and the awaking mountains. Then, catching sight of Stephen Dedalus, he bent towards him and made rapid crosses in the air, gurgling in his throat and shaking his head. Stephen Dedalus, displeased and sleepy, leaned his arms on top of the staircase and looked coldly at the shaking, gurgling face that blessed him, equine in its length, and at the light, untonsured hair, grained and hued like pale oak.
In recognition of Peter's significant contribution, it's with great pride today and on behalf of Peter himself that I ring the bell to commence the 2023 celebrations for Bloomsday.
Here's to you, Peter.
Here's to you, Peter.
You know, James Joyce is an international literary figure. Ulysses is a global book, but it comes out of Ireland. I mean, James Joyce took Ireland at an early stage to Switzerland, to Italy, to Paris. One of the great legal cases was about the censorship or otherwise of Ulysses coming into New York. And even the judgment in that case is a literary work in itself. The judge sent it off to his friends who didn't know that they were all reading it, his literary assessors, to determine was it really pornographic or was it just the things of spring of men and women. And it was such a brilliant piece of work in itself. But James Joyce did that for Ireland, and he took this great literary work around the world. He took Ireland around the world, and it all starts here in Dublin, and particularly in Sandycove, the area that I'm from, that I represent. And it's just so exciting every year on Bloomsday to celebrate the locality, but to celebrate Ireland and Ireland's place in the literary world. In Sandycove and Glasthule, every year we celebrate it by everybody coming out. We dress up with our hats, with our Edwardian gear or our best effort at it, and we have, you know, the traders do all of the work. Peter Caviston here in Caviston's and Jared in 64. They put on a great show for everybody here. We have singers, we have people reading from Ulysses. Down at the Martello Tower, there are readings there in the morning. People celebrate with breakfast, lunch, and for the whole day here in Sandycove and Glasthule, people will be out celebrating and enjoying Bloomsday.
The 16th of June is always celebrated as Bloomsday. It's the day on which the action of the book Ulysses took place back in 1904. And since the 1950s, groups have gathered together around the tower and in other places in Dublin to celebrate that day. Well, the Joyce Tower is a landmark. It's a monument, and it's both a literary monument and an archaeological one. It's associated with them very specially because of its place in the book Ulysses. And because of that, it attracts a lot of visitors. We get about 41,000 visitors to the tower every year, and they come from all over the world. Bloomsday itself is a big celebration, and that's a huge thing for the whole Glasthule, Sandycove area. If you go up to the main street, you'll see every restaurant, every coffee shop, every shop is thronged with people, and they're all out celebrating, especially on a nice day like this. It means that we're so to speak, we're putting Sandycove and Glasthule on the map internationally.
Most people feel that Ulysses is better if you listen to it. Now, the audiobooks are wonderful, depending on the reader, but often some of the way he's written words and written them down. For example, he puts down the sound of the sea in one section, and that's actually very hard to read, but when you read it out loud, it makes more sense. You hear the swishing sound of the waves coming in and going out. And Ulysses was written over 7 years by Joyce. So that's kind of interesting. He kept editing. It took him quite a while to do that. But if he was thinking about, and he must have done this, that if he wanted to hear the sound of the words, then he must have listened to that. Now, he could have taken the choice of reading it out loud to himself, which is somewhat helpful. But more importantly, I think somebody must have read it to him, so he could hear the sounds of what he's written, re-edited again in an iterative fashion, and he kept re-editing and editing, so he got the sounds right. So there was an audio component to that. So Joyce must have figured this out. Interesting, of course, he was a medical student on 2 occasions, but dropped out both occasions, so he has an interest in medicine, and probably understand it innately, I suppose, from the viewpoint there's a difference in the spoken word versus the read word. And in his book, he does both, but actually it's a bit easier to hear the book than it is to read it.
My uncle was a medical student and he came down to buy a pound of fish and he ended up in the Eagle House, and I believe it was 1947 or 1948, and he had loads of money and he bought the shop, and the next day he woke up and he said, my God, what have I done? That's how it started. My father was in the British Army, went all around the world, and he came back home and had plenty of money. And I started in 1967 at the age of 15. My university was that shop. No degree. That was the degree of life, the University of Life, the best education I ever got. It's a great landmark, Caviston's, and it's a testament to my staff. They love what they do. My staff are my family. They look after the customers.
We pay tribute to the wonderful Peter Caviston. We raise a glass high and offer a heartfelt toast. Here's to you, Peter, an extraordinary individual whose irrepressible spirit and infectious enthusiasm for life has inspired us all. Your unwavering dedication to the preservation and promotion of Irish culture is nothing short of remarkable. You have not only enriched our understanding of Bloomsday, but have also encapsulated the essence of the James Joyce literary masterpiece.
Well, I think the book is hugely important to Dublin because it portrays the city and parts of the city in a unique way. I also think, you know, the personality of Joyce's writings comes through, old Dublin comes through. So it represents a historical time of the city that's beautifully captured in the book Ulysses. Well, I think its association with Sandycove Tower, with Glasthule, and the writings within the book, you know, give it a natural sort of companionship and alliance with this area. I think people like Peter Caviston have done wonderful work through driving the festival here, the Bloomsday Festival, every year, celebrating the book, celebrating the characters of the book, the live readings, all that. Because there's nothing else like this in Dublin, and it really is. It stands out as something, and I think the people come out in their droves in Dún Laoghaire, in Glasthule, in Sandycove and Dalkey to support it.
The community gets involved in the book, the community gets involved in the artistic nature of the book, the community gets involved in celebrating the presence of the community in the book. Everybody who has picked up Ulysses starts with Sandycove. It's absolutely marvellous, and it brings Sandycove right around the world in an extraordinary way. So the community gets behind that and celebrates it every single year and enjoys it to the full.